Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, February 23rd. Congressman Stephen Lynch is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. Decades of experience on Capitol Hill, but now dealing with foundational shifts in the federal government, the steps that he is taking in a time of rapid change. It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Charmin Sacchetti. With us at the table, Congressman Stephen Lynch. He represents the state's 8th district and has served in Congress since 2001. So glad you're with us.
Great to see you both.
Great to see you. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? I mean, we're beyond Valentine's Day, but this is the first time I'm seeing you since then. So Happy New Year. It's great to see you. Yeah. And the first word out of my mouth this morning is DOGE. You're a member of the House subcommittee that's overseeing DOGE, which, if you don't know, is the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. President Trump giving Elon Musk broad power to massively reduce the size of the federal government. And now last week, the White House said that Musk isn't running DOGE. He said, and I'm quoting here, an employee of the White House. So what is your understanding of his position, this position in the government?
Well, right now, he's a special employee, and he's got a bunch of young kids, one of them age 25, who recently was given access to very sensitive information improperly. But I've been asked by the Democratic leadership to participate in litigation working group. So right now, as of close of business day yesterday, we had 78 lawsuits going on in 11 different circuits, 8 different states. So we've been very successful on a lot of those. We've got TROs.
To stop DOGE from doing?
Right. To stop the prohibition of federal grants, for some of the layoffs, and some of the access of information through the Treasury payment systems. So we've been successful in terms of getting a temporary restraining order, but now those cases, many of them have been appealed to the circuit court. So we're still in that fight. But we're also working with some pro-democracy groups, ironically. Democracy Forward, and then Publico as well. They're providing attorneys, and we're working together to try to defend the constitutional rights of individuals, as well as some of the employee rights that federal employees enjoy.
In the overall scheme, and I'm not asking you to grade DOGE or grade Musk or the president, but in the overall scheme, wouldn't you think that government needs to be filtered, thinned, reduced? Size is too large. It needs to be reduced.
Yeah. No, there are a whole. So every year we have the inspectors general come before the oversight committee and tell us, you've got big gaps here in government. This most recent report we got was that we need 3,000 critical care employees at the VA. That was the report from the inspector general. We need 3,000 more. What Trump comes in is he fires that guy and then lays off another 1,000. So where are we now? The backlog of cases at the VA is at 250,000 cases right now. I guarantee without those 4,000 people, we're probably going to see that double in the next 6 to 8 months. It'll be up to 500,000. That means veterans are waiting longer and longer to get care, to get approval, for their families to get approval. We've just introduced a whole lot of legislation that is supposed to help families and help veterans, and that is all going to fall by the wayside because people won't be able to access their care.
Do you have questions about how DOGE is doing its job, transparency questions about that, and whether or not what the messaging is about the numbers that are being saved, that are saving taxpayers, whether or not that's accurate or not?
Right. Well, I mean, just look at the case. Look at what they're doing. Right. They lay off 300 the nuclear security personnel. Then it's whoops.
And they rehire.
We got to get them back here, and they're having trouble getting them back. Yeah. I mean, if I was a federal employee, these people are highly valued. They can go to work anywhere. All of a sudden, the government comes in and fires them all. I'm not so sure I would want to go back there, especially working for crazy people like these.
Yeah.
The same thing has occurred in other instances where they've laid off a bunch of people and then had to hire them back. So, you can see the way they're operating here. It's not logical. Musk is marching around on the stage with a buzzsaw. I mean, that. It seems like
you've heard the conversations,
buffoonery.
Right? No one cast one vote for Elon Musk, and so why is he pulling plugs?
Right. Well, the president has empowered him as a special employee. He's given him that status and that ability, and I think until he realizes what the impact is on regular average people, including farmers, which were a big voting bloc for Trump in the last election. They're up in arms about the layoffs to agricultural department employees that
let's talk about some of the federal cuts that we are seeing. The federal workforce here in Boston, we've seen protests. Workers have marched in the streets. The JFK Library briefly shut down after staffers were let go. There are major concerns about cuts coming to the NIH and medical research and how that will impact Massachusetts. Do you think, though, this is what voters voted for when they voted for President Trump?
No, I don't think they wanted to stop cancer research. I don't think they wanted to stop Alzheimer's research. I don't think they wanted to lay off, hundreds of FBI agents that are working on major cases that affect their safety. I don't think they signed up for that. They do have a sense that there needs to be change. There needs to be a shakeup, but. We have laws and we have a constitution.
There hasn't been much pushback from Congress. Some Democrats have.
Well, they control the House, they control the Senate. So we can't even get a bill to the floor without the permission from the Speaker of the House, right? We don't have the votes. So they do drive the process. They've got control of the Senate as well. That's why that's why I'm on a litigation working group, because we're going to court to try to get federal judges, God bless them, to actually make decisions to force the president to abide by the law.
Do you think Republicans in Congress are really ceding their power to the president right now?
Oh yeah. They're all in. They don't say a word. There's not a peep out of any of them. Look at this latest statement that Ukraine started the war in Russia. All those guys sat in classified briefings with me. We watched Putin bring his armored divisions from Vladivostok, 4,000 miles away, to plant them in front of the Ukraine border, and then began the assault. I mean, all of those guys, classified briefings, they know that Ukraine did not start this war. And what do you hear from them? Crickets.
Well, on the screen is a picture of you and Zelensky. You segue nicely to Ukraine. The president has called Ukraine's president a dictator, falsely claiming Ukraine's state. You were just talking about that. I started the war with Russia. You met with Zelensky in Kyiv in 2023. You have been an outspoken supporter of Ukraine. You have been a critic of Putin's Russia. Trump wants to strike a deal with Russia to end the war. A, how is this playing out within you? And B, how will this play out?
Yeah. So before Russia took Crimea, about 5 years ago, there was a plan afoot where Putin had a puppet ruler in Ukraine, and the deal back then was that with the cooperation of this puppet, who was really in the pocket of the Russian government, they were going to carve off the 4 provinces in eastern Ukraine and create a separate region, and that eventually Russia would take that. I think that plan is afoot right now. I think that's what Putin is urging Trump to do in negotiations in
Trump is
Saudi
willing
Arabia.
to do you think?
I'm afraid he is. I've heard him talk about, you could have had a deal. That was the deal that was on the table before, but you'd have to give up Luhansk, Donetsk, Suma, a bunch of there's 4 provinces there. So that's what I think's coming down. I think Trump is negotiating a giveaway of those provinces to Russia. Yeah, and on behalf of, and then Ukraine, it's about 20% of Ukraine's territory. And that's the deal that I think that Trump is negotiating right now. I'm afraid for it because, here is that country fighting. They haven't asked us for any military personnel. Just give us some weapons so we can fight and die on behalf of our own country. And now America is backing away from that. This has hurt us incredibly with our international neighbors. It's just, we are no longer seen as a reliable power, a reliable partner.
Is it wrong that Ukraine wasn't at the table when the conversation started?
Absolutely wrong. Yeah.
Our conversation with Congressman Stephen Lynch continues right after the break.